We are Simion, the Evolutionary Collective. You are asking this question: how can we remember who we are and reclaim our power? In asking this question, you are recognizing that you are not your entire selves, and you are not being in your power. And this is an important realization that you are making in asking this question, and therefore we congratulate you in this consideration. With every great philosophical and spiritual question, there is in your world a dichotomy expressed. Therefore, when you look at this question and consider it, you must understand that in order to remember who you are in your world, you must forget who you are. And in order to reclaim your power, you must relinquish the power that you have given the exterior environment and your ego identity. This is what we speak of. As in your world, you have relinquished your true being and remembrance of who you truly are, and you have given your power to the external environment that has created that identity that you think you are. And thus, you must let go of that illusion that you experience in this world. And you have been given this opportunity to experience this illusion in order to express and find the true expression of your soul being, which is who you truly are, as a being in connection and wholeness with the universal consciousness, which is what you might call God, or the source of all. And this is who you must remember, the being that you must remember you truly are, in order to reclaim that power that is inherent in that beingness, that oneness of interconnectivity of your soul with that God universal intelligence. As each of you is an expression thereof, in your unique expression of that God force, you each have particular and special qualities of the power of that universal consciousness. So even within that whole oneness, you are each a beautiful and unique expression. And you can see this as the wholeness of the universe is expressed in your three-dimensional reality. You can see the beauty and the wholeness of the expression of God. However, you have forgotten that you are a part of this expression, and that everything around you is that spiritual expression of godliness. So in your trying to remember, you must give up the fact that you think that you are separate from all that is the godliness of your universal expression, all that is around you, every being that exists on the planet Earth, in every cell and every molecule, every rock, every piece of wood, every tree, every bit of metal, every house, every car, everything that you experience on your planet is an expression of God or source consciousness. It can be nothing other than that. So in order to remember who you are, you must remember that everything is who you are. And again, that may seem as a dichotomy, because you are trying to think that you need to remember yourself as separate, when what you need to remember is that you are not separate. You are all caught up in this idea of your individual identity, when your power is not in your individual identity. Your power is in your individual expression as a part of the whole, and you see that as uncomprehensible when you are bound by that identity that you feel is you, which is your ego identity, which is governed by the external environment that has told you what you need to be. You can let go of this entirely, and then when you do so, you will find the true power of yourself, of your self-consciousness as this expression of the whole. It may appear complex, and you have a hard time conceiving of this idea, again, because of your misconception that you are separate. But it is time in your cultivation of your evolution to recognize that your power is within the unity of your consciousness with everything around you. So you can begin to remember who you are by remembering what everything is, remembering that you are of everything that is in your physical universe and beyond. And remember to look to the space between the objects or the separateness that you perceive with your consciousness, as it is perceiving in the three-dimensional reality, of everything around you, the space between. Look to this space to see that there is consciousness in all, and that everything is not as separate as it appears, and it is that the space between that actually creates the seeming separateness of everything around you. But if you look to the space between, you notice that you see, and you can begin to see the energy in the space between that actually connects all of the beings. And we recommend that you do this out in a space of nature, where you can look between the trees and see that there is energy between the trees, and you will begin to develop your consciousness to the matrix grid of the reality, which is all of energy. It is all energy that creates even the trees and the grasses and the birds that fly between. And it is all the energy that you can see, sense between, that you begin to recognize the interconnectivity. And that it is the space between that allows the space for the physical beingness of these objects, you see, including yourselves. And thus you are all connected by this space between. And therefore there is no space between, again, another dichotomy. So whenever you ask a philosophical question, always look what is the opposite, and that is what I must do. It is what I must be at some level of another. So when you are looking at the separateness of things, and you are trying to understand how you can be interconnected, look at where they are connected, and that is the illusion of there being nothing between you and the tree, but space. You see, there is no such thing as this space that you think you see. And this is where you can begin to develop a consciousness towards understanding that you are a whole oneness with everything in your environment. And as such, you will begin to remember that you are not separate, and that you are this power, and that you are a power of a creator, that you are a creator, just as the God consciousness source is, and that it is consciousness itself that is governing your reality. And that you are not separate from any other consciousness within your sphere of understanding, and that your consciousness affects the tree, and your consciousness affects the stones, and your consciousness affects your neighbor. How would you like your consciousness to be spread within your environment? And this is where your true individuality actually is empowered. Because when you recognize that you have this power of consciousness, then, and only then, can you understand your influence and reclaim the power that that influence may have. Because when you think that you are powerless, and when you think that you are just this identity that has been created by your society, then you have no power. Then you are powerless. Then you are governed by our external forces, and your consciousness has been diminished. And yet, although you feel separate and special, you are not separate and special in this case. Your true individuality, in other words, your true unique spirit, is not expressed within that reality, within that sense of separateness. Your true spiritual power and individual character of being, as an expression of the source energy, is only developed and only truly understood and empowered in itself when you understand that you are a part of the whole, and that your consciousness has all the power in the universe, all the power of the God force. And that as you recognize this, you see what happens. Many say, well, what does that mean, that there can be evil done with that recognition of that power? And the answer is absolutely not. And this is such a misconception in your world, because once you recognize that you are part of the whole, you cannot, in your wildest imaginations, imagine damaging yourself in this reality. The consciousness that develops when you understand your interconnectivity to it all, and your unique expression within that, you can do nothing but develop a consciousness that has everything and every being in reverence. It is that sense that develops of oneness with the universe can only elicit within your being a higher level of consciousness that only wishes the most positive vibration to all. You see. And as you begin to recognize the power of this consciousness within this whole of the being of the universe, you begin to recognize that you are much more than just what you have experienced in this plane of reality. As you tap into the wholeness of your unique consciousness within the whole, you begin to tap into all of the experiences that whole has had in other lifetimes within this reality. Perhaps many, perhaps thousands, some of you. Perhaps only a few on this planetary reality, but perhaps many, many more on other realities. Maybe your soul consciousness has developed beyond the physical reality that you experience, and you are here as a helper for the raising of the consciousness of planet Earth and humanity, because there are many of you that are what you may call star seeds that have come from other realms, other planetary systems, other dimensions.